Good morning. We are middle of the Maimer, the discourse of the Mittler Rebbe. Mik Hashem Elokeinu on Maamorei AdHamtz Bereishis, Tzachana Maimer, page 372. If you're following along, the pages can be found at ayimbeis.com, where all these pages were scanned. And we're learning this because this is the elaboration of the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, which we learned already in Torah the Maimer and this explanation, which is all the basis of the end of Ayin Beis. And we're actually we've entered into the themes, the actual themes that are discussed at the end of Ayin Beis, namely in the last 13, 15 pages. Starting from 1466, the Hemshech ends at 1474, I believe, or 1477, I'm sorry. So 1477, and 1466 is really what we're learning right now. The truth is, it begins in 1463, and even earlier on 1350. But as I've been explaining, these themes have been developing in many different ways. So what we're up to now, what we're learning now, and you'll recognize, if you remember what we learned in Ayin Beis, literally the same structure, obviously with different language and the different points that the Mittler Rebbe elaborates upon, that the Rebbe Rashab does not cite. On the other hand, there's things that Rebbe Rashab elaborates on that the Mittler Rebbe does not discuss as detailed as the Rebbe Rashab. And we'll do all that comparative study as we go along. I'll keep pointing out where these ideas are explained in Ayin Beis. At the end of the day, we're learning all this as a support to the Ayin Beis classes, especially that Hemshech, where we're up to right now. So after establishing, firstly, the personality of the divine soul and the personality of the animal soul are diametric opposites. In the language of the verse in Kelipas, Ruach ha'adam oila l'mayla, Adam gematria ma is the nefesh halikis. Its spirit is transcendent in nature, going outside of itself, looking upward. Upward means not just physically, but primarily spiritually, that it's upward, looking outside of itself, outside of existence, beyond existence. And Ruach ha'behema yiredas lamata, spirit of the animal looks down, meaning into existence, into the yesh, into mitzias, into its needs. Yet Hashem placed them together in this wondrous way that they not just coexist, but they work together as one. They could work together as one, we should say. And that's when the divine soul manifests itself. Every faculty of the divine soul can manifest and actually use the mind of the animal soul, the emotions of the animal soul. Its behavior should all be aligned with with godliness, with loving God. The question, however, which he began on page, and furthermore, I should add before the question, furthermore, this is the purpose, the whole purpose why neshama comes down below. This is the whole purpose of our lives, is this transformation of the material world and the animal soul to become aligned with godliness. And indeed, when it comes down below the neshama, it reaches an aliyah, an elevation that it could never have reached on its own. Yerida Gdela is for an aliyah Gdela, as he explains on page 370 and 371. And that's capturing the idea of Baalei Tshuva being greater than Tzaddikim. That the place that Baalei Tshuva occupy, that reside in, B'mokim shel Baalei Tshuva ein Tzaddikim gemirim yechelim lamed sham klal. It's interesting just to emphasize when the Rebbe would use often this expression in Chazal. It says ein eimdim sham, not ein yechelim lamed sham. So someone once asked the Rebbe, his brother-in-law, the Rashag, by one of the meals, where's the Rebbe get the yechelim? Because ein eimdim sham means tzaddikim can't stand on the same level as Baalei Tshuva. But there's an expression yechelim, and you see here the Mittler Rebbe uses yechelim, and the Rebbe's answer was mitzad hergish. That he doesn't have an actual source. It's that his senses, that it's not just they're not standing there, they're not capable of standing on the level of Baalei Tshuva. But indeed, we did find before the Rebbe that expression here, like Ein Yochel and Lamed. Wow. Why? Because the Baal Tshuva goes down into darkness and transforms darkness. Transforming darkness, as we explained, is rooted higher than the Oyer of Tikkun. Shema of Tikkun is rooted in Oyer. That's the Giluyim, the revelations of the Nefesh Elokis, which on a revelatory level is higher than the animal soul, obviously, because the animal soul is antithetical to godliness. But the root of the animal soul, as we learned, and the root of the concealment is in Yoshes Cheshach Sisa in Toyu, in the Cheshach of Toyu, which is higher than Tikkun. So when you elevate and transform the animal soul, you're able to access those higher, more intense powers that exist in Toyu. And this is also why Yofer Sha'achas B'tshuva Maisim Tevim Be'elam Hazim Ekol Chai Elam Haba. That 1 hour of work in this world, which work? Tshuva and Maisim Tevim, is more than the entire Chai Elam Haba. Why? Because he's talking here Elam Haba, not just Aschar, like Gan Eden, but even the highest level of Elam Haba, because at the end of the day, what is the cause for reaching such high levels of revelation is because we come down in this world. So as I explained yesterday, number one is the work in this world, because it's dealing with something that is more concealed. So it's rooted in a higher place. So that's Yafa. That's what makes it greater or more beautiful. And secondly, it is what causes, like he said, is because of the tshuva and maisim tevim, the tshuva that saturates the maisim tevim. So it's not just maisim tevim alone. Is because of that causes that, like he says in the Zayar, that one who does not transform darkness to light cannot merit, I should say, to the world to come. Because the world to come is a result of that work, Haba HaTalya, as he said. It's interdependent. Now, there were tzaddikim that did attain the level of tshuva, like he said. He talked about Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe attained it. And then he talks about Mashiach, which is most likely what he means, that Mashiach will cause that tzaddikim will also do tshuva. And I pointed out where in Ayin Beis he explains the meaning behind that. But on their own, by the tshuva stand in a higher level. Okay, so that establishes essentially the number one is the divine soul and animal soul coming together. The animal soul being transformed is the purpose to transform the animal soul. In the process, the divine soul and everything gets elevated to an even higher level than when it first began the process, the journey. But now comes the question, where does a person have the power to achieve this? We explained how it's possible. We explained because the Nefesh Habamis is rooted in a higher place. But on a tactical level, practically speaking, where does the Adam have the power to come to such a level and transform the keiches, the faculty of the Nefesh Habamis, Seichel Midas, from Ra to Tev, from darkness to light? Like he said, the parentheses he qualified. Even though Ma has the power to do it, he's not asking how Neshama has the power to do it. He's asking how it's actually done. How do you implement that? And we know it's not easy because the animal soul puts up a lot of resistance, as we know, as we see from our own lives. So the power, he says, Ma has the power to elevate Ban of Toyu. And he explained that's like why you see the proof of that is that Adam Hiyakriv Karban Hashem. A person, a human from Adam, from Ma, has the power to bring an offering from a behemoth and cause through that Reich Nechayach LaHashem, a beautiful Nachas Ruach to Hashem, just as the same as the opposite. The animal elevates the human being because, like he said, like we eat food, food strengthens us and sustains us. The same thing is the carbon is it infuses the human being and adds mechin and midas in atzilus. And that is because the behemoth is rooted in a higher place than the Adam. But the only way the behemoth can actualize that power is through the Adam bringing the carbon. Like he says, first the human being has to be mevared. Chachma is bariru. Chachma has to achieve that. So the operative question remains, what's the process? How do we actually actualize that? We know it has the power, but like what is the method that's being used there? Especially considering that the behemoth is actually rooted higher and therefore also falls lower. So it's not an easy process to transform. On paper, it makes sense because if you can transform the behemoth to Kedusha, the behemoth to darkness to light, the light will be more intense because it's rooted in Toyu. But how do you get there? When the fact is that on its own, it's a crass, physical, materialistic entity seeking its own pleasure and its own survival and its own existence. So this begins the discussion. This is why we have the mitzvah, we have davening. This is what tefillah is about. Now, if you may recall, both in Tera'er and in Ayin Beis, he actually said these words. I'll first read from Ayin Beis. The words about tefillah, he said that like this. I want to read the exact words. On page 1466, he said, well, may not be on that page. Maybe it was an earlier page. But bottom line, my recollection is that tefillah, the whole purpose of davening, is to elevate and transform the animal soul. He said that very, very explicitly. I'm just trying to find the exact place. Maybe it was earlier, maybe it's later. But regardless, he said that. In tefillah itself, of course, we're going to learn that Shema is like the cornerstone, the central piece of davening. But the Mittler Rebbe now is going to show that all of davening comes simply, that's the Aveda of tefillah, is Aveda Shebelev, is to transform the animal soul. In Torah Eir, he also said it. Let me see if I can find quickly where he said it. Let me see. Yeah. Well, he spoke about Shema. Shema is Lashon Havana. Let me see. I have to find the exact language. I was looking for a particular line, but there's no question that he said that that's what tefillah comes to do. May have been even where he spoke about the makif. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, and found what I was looking for. On page Lamed Ches Gimel, 38c in Torah Eir, he used these words. Why you put on talis and tefillin before davening? Because lahalis es nefesh hasbam is b'tefillah. So in order to elevate the animal soul in davening, you have to infuse with power that's called the makiv that comes before the davening. But he makes it clear, tefillah hi aliyas nefesh habams. Those words he uses. And that's why the tefillah is the same nusach every day, because it's all about that one nefesh habam that's being elevated every day, another part of that animal soul. And he said it again in the beard as well, that tefillah is what tefillah does. Tefillah is the elevation of the animal soul. So the Mittler Rebbe now is going to elaborate on that. And that's going to be the answer to the question, how we actually implement. In other words, we've established they're called the chemistry, if you wish, or the anatomy of divine soul and animal soul. Divine soul is rooted in tikkun, in Adam of tikkun shema. The animal soul is rooted, he said earlier, Shemari Hafanim, but also in all the way up to the Toyu, the Zayin Midas of Toyu. But then the animal soul comes down below and is concealed. As a matter of fact, the Shvirus HaKeim, the shattering of the containers. So the animal soul is not an easy force to tame and harness. So we have to have some method now of how to repair all of this. How do we get to the animal soul that has now, after the Shvirus HaKelim, is now controlled by Kelipas Nogah, And Kelipas Nogah, as we discussed, has the elements of good and evil, selfishness, and there's also Kelipas Nogah, but it's a Kelipa. So this is where tefillah comes in. Tefillah is the process of realigning and reconnecting this material world in general, and specifically here we're talking about the animal soul, back to its source, should be aligned with the nefesh halakis. So the neshama with davening can achieve this purpose. That's essentially what he's saying. Now, he did cite from Tanya that through davening, the Beinani, b'shas krishma v'tfilah, the bottom of last page, 371, he said in the parenthesis, previous page, I believe it was, it's 369. At the bottom, he said that the Beinani, this is the krishma v'tfilah yuchel yischaber b'nefesh halakis. So in chapter 12 in Tanya, he does tell us that during davening, the nefesh halakis has more impact on the nefesh habamis. At least it definitely subdues it and doesn't let it reign, but it also has an impact on it. So now the Mittler Rebbe is going to elaborate how davening does this. And this is where the Ayin Beis draws from. However, the Ayin Beis doesn't really go into Pesukei de Zimra. And here, at least, what we learned didn't go into Birchis Yotzer only earlier, and I'll refer to that soon. It focuses mostly on Shema and Baruch Shem, Yichudei Elah, Yichudei Tata. But the Mittler Rebbe, it broadens to the whole davening. So Mittler Rebbe, we began learning yesterday, is how davening becomes a tremendous tool necessary for the neshama to accomplish its purpose of transforming the animal soul. So I'm going to go over what we learned yesterday and then continue. So he's going to talk about the different sections in davening, namely Pesukei de Zimra, Birchas Krishma, which consists of two brachas, Yotzer and Avas Elam, and then Shema and the following and the sections of Shema, Baruch Shem, V'ahavta, and so on. As I said, Ayin Beis focused on Birchas Yotzer earlier in Ayin Beis with the Malachim. We'll talk about that. But in the end of Ayin Beis, the focus was mostly on Shema, Baruch Shem, and then, of course, we also know what he spoke about. Mitzvahs. So we're not up to mitzvahs right now because we're still talking about the neshama, ner Hashem, nishmasadim, and davening, which is the aveda mamata lamayla, to elevate the animal soul. In the language of Ayin Beis, it's the 550 pages that began middle of volume 2 and concluded on page 1349 in volume 3 about aramim chelekayim elch mamata lamayla through davening. Afterwards, he starts talking about how it's through Torah, which is Mamayla Lamata. And you recall from the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, Mamat Lamayla Lamata was mitzvahs, was Mamat Lamayla. Torah is Mamayla Lamata. Hamashpili is Torah, Hamagbi is mitzvahs, and prior to that comes the Neshama and Davening, which is completely Mamat Lamayla, with mitzvahs being a combination of Mamat Lamayla and Mamayla Lamata, because at the end of the day, it is a mitzvah that's given to us from above. So this will all come together as we develop it. I'm just giving an outline. So right now the focus is going to be on the davening itself. So the connection is very clear to Ayin Beis, and of course based on the Alter Rebbe's Maimer in Torah that we learned. This is a critical contextual piece that I just added to understand the whole connection, how we move here. So that's how he begins. Va'omnam. Middle of page page 372. He says, "What is the inyan? What is inyan? Which inyan? How does a person have the capacity? What's the way and the method that a person has the capacity, adam, which is lower than a behema, because it's rooted in Torah? How does he indeed transform the behema, the nefesh habamis, to kedusha, to b'chol avavcha b'shnei etzarecha?" So he says, the Amnam Ayinu, that's why Anshe Knesset Daily gave us tefillah. And tefillah, we know, there's the tefillah, but the Anshe Knesset added more than what's required davening. There's a certain Shema, for example, and a few other things are required. But the Anshe Knesset Agdela, who lived, as we know in Pirkei Avos, he says that Moshe Kibbutz Torah Mesinai, Masada li Yeshua l'Skenim le Neviim la Anshe Knesset Agdela. So the Anshe Knesset Agdela come a few generations after Moshe, and they established a big part of the davening that we do, and we namely Pesukei de Zimra. Pesukei de Zimra literally means the verses of song. These are the tefillahs that begin with Baruch Sha'amar. Some begin with Haidu, you can say. So there's Birchas HaShachar, from Moida Ani till Haidu, is like a preparatory prayer. Then comes Pesukei de Zimra, that goes all the way till after Yishtabach. We say Kaddish, and then we start Hamer La'aretz, the two brachas before Shema, as I said, Yotzer, and the second Avasela, two blessings. So he's going to explain what was the purpose of establishing this tefillah. We know Apita Midaraisa, Pitera tefillah is only when you're in need. When you're in need, you're supposed to daven. But here we established a prayer that we say every day, whether you're in need or not in need, even though a person is always in need. But Pesukei de Zimra is an addition. What did Pesukei de Zimra come to contribute? Why do we need to have it? Why can't we just go straight to Shema Yisrael? Or if you want the brachas before Shema, and into Shemoneh Esrei. What do you need the whole Pesukei de Zimra? So one of the explanations says, because Medaber, it speaks about the Shvachim, the praises that the Malachim sing to God. Which Malachim? The Malachim of Eilam HaSiyah. This will be important soon, because remember, Tefillah is also a journey on a ladder, like climbing a ladder. The ladder that Yaakov saw in his dream, that we read about a few weeks ago, is a ladder, the Zohar says, Sulam Zu Tefillah, refers to davening, and the four rungs of the ladder refer to the four stages in davening. Sometimes they're described in two different ways. One is Birchas HaShachar, Pesukei de Zimra, Shema, and Shemoneh Esrei. Sometimes it's discussed more Pesukei de Zimra, Birchas Krishma, Shema, and Shemoneh Esrei. And it's a aliyah from Asiyah to Yitzira to Bria to Atzilus, with Shemoneh Esrei being Atzilus. So the journey goes through the worlds. So he's saying Pesukei de Zimra refers to the shvachim that the malachim from Eilam HaSiyah sing praise to God. And he gives an example, like one of them is Kamoi, Halus Hashem min hashamayim. They praise God from heaven. Who's praising God? Is malachim. Why? Because what we're doing when we say this tefillah, we're drawing and accessing and learning by example of how to draw godliness into our lives. Hallelujah, like he says, is Lashon Yaleh. The word hallelujah means praise, but it also comes from the word illuminate. Yaleh, illuminating, shining light. So when we say hallelujah Hashem min hashamayim, we're not just talking about the angels. We are drawing from that light should also shine in the darkness of the concealment within the human, within the body, the guf. The Kelipas Nogah shebeguf, like we say, remus kale begreinom, cherev pefias yadam. So he says, remus kale begreinom dafke, that from moyach, grain is the throat. So remus bekel greinom, the exaltedness and majesty of God is begreinom, is in their throat. It means it's being drawn down from moyach lelev basar, from the mind to the heart, which goes through the throat. And what is the end of the verse? That creates a cherev, a type of sword, a two-edged sword with two-edged sword, double-edged sword. That lahachris, what is the purpose of the sword? Is to cut down. The nursing of the negative energies of the body and the animal soul that get their energy. You want to cut off their supply of spiritual oxygen or spiritual energy. And that's Kelipas Sodom. So by saying Hallelu, you're drawing that light into the body, into the lev basar, into the heart. The heart includes the animal soul on the left side of the heart, and you're cutting off its supply of negative energy in order to direct it toward positive energy. That's where we stopped yesterday. Actually, we read a little more, one more line. Now, he doesn't say it explicitly here, but in Ayin Beis, earlier, he said that's one of the reasons it's called Pesukei de Zimra. Zimra means song, but Zimra also means Lazamer Aritzim. It means to weed, to cut off the weeds. Lazamer Aritzim. So Pesukei de Zimra also has the meaning that you're weeding your garden by weakening and cutting out the weeds of the animal soul. That's what the role of Pesukei de Zimra is. So he doesn't say it explicitly, but it hints to it, basically, by talking about Cheref B'Fiyas Yodam, the Lahachli Shinikas HaChitzenim. So this is all part of Pesukei. In other words, Pesukei de Zimra is helping subdue and weaken the animal soul's passions for its material world, preparing it for the next stages in davening, which will do more work, which he's now going to continue reading. So we'll continue reading now. He's going through now the order. Pesukei de Zimra, so he goes from this. I'm going to stop soon for questions, but let me just read a little more so we'll get a picture here of the order in davening. So he's giving us essentially the formula, the tefillah formula here. So first you have to sing the praise, or better put, you have to bring the light in. If you don't have light that will shine in this darkness, it's going to be very difficult to fight with the animal soul. After you do that, then comes bracha v'heidah. And what is that? Because of Vayivarech David. But Vayivarech David doesn't come till after all the Hallelujahs. If you look in Pesukei de Zimra, first comes Hallel, the Hallelu this and Hallelu, the different ones after Ashrei. All the praise, which is all about like weeding the garden or cutting off, that's applied by illuminating the Kelipas Nogah, the darkness of the Kelipas Nogah. That leads us to bracha v'heidah. Bracha v'heidah is already, a bracha is amshach, a drawing down of an extension, and heidah, acknowledgement, say vayivarech David. And David blessed. It's a blessing. It's more than just saying praise. This is vayivarech David. He doesn't explain here what that accomplishes. He just said it says so look elsewhere where it's discussed at length, where he discussed it, because it's not particularly relevant to our discussion here, the vayivarech David part, but I will look up in different places where that's explained. If you look in the footnote, he refers to the Maamorei of the Mittler Rebbe, Dvarim Chelik Beis, the end of 486 and on. So there he discusses it, and there he also cites more sources. But suffice it to say, we have now Pesukei de Zimra, then Vayivarech David. So that's the initial stages of so-called softening up the resistance of the animal soul, because it is a battle. And battles, you don't win overnight. You have to go step by step. You're dealing with an animal soul, so you have to tame it. So Pesukei de Zimra is the first stage. But now he's going to say, Va'omnam ikra inyan. Where's the primary refinement and the primary so-called engagement with the animal soul comes now after Vayivarech David, and then after Oz Yosher and Yishtabach, then comes the two blessings that we mentioned, B'shtayim lefaneha, the two blessings that precede Krishma, that he referred to earlier. And now he's going to explain what they do. And interestingly, this is the source, or at least Ayin Beis spoke about this earlier. I believe I already gave you the page, but I'll give it again. You go to page, let me just find it 1 second. Here we are. On page 1443, at the bottom, he said, how through Krishma does Neshamas Yisrael become connected with God? And why do we need to receive it from the Malachim? Remember, with Oyer Hariya, it says the eye cannot see without the light, an external light. And one of the lights is the Malachim, who are called Einayim, Einei Hashem. So the Malachim give us siyua, support to the neshamas. So you ask why? He says, because the Malachim are connected to Birchis Yotzer on page 1444, and that is connected to what we're going to learn now. The role of the blessing where we bring Kaddish, 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 all the Malachim, not only of Asiyah, like in Pesukei de Zimra, but of Yetzirah and Bria, that say, includes the Chayes HaKodesh and the Srafim, which in turn are the root of the animal soul that helps weaken and soften up the animal soul, if you recall on page 1444 in Ayin Beis. That's what he's going to say now. And that's going to prepare us for Shema itself, where Shema, the Yichud, is really the ultimate place where the animal soul is now ready to listen to the divine soul and the unity that it can convey to it, for it to ultimately become B'chol Levavcha B'shnei Yitzarecha. But you need first these stages. In Torah, interesting, the Alter Rebbe went straight to Shema and said Shema is the bittul and the yichud that transforms the animal soul. But the Mittler Rebbe, in his classic style, is elaborating. Remember, we don't begin with Shema. We begin with the blessings before Shema, and before that, Pesukei de Zimra. And Ayin Beis as well was sensitive to that. So therefore, he's building the process. And now we're up to the brachas lefarneha, the two brachas. But before I continue, I'll stop if there are any questions, and then we'll learn about what the role of these two blessings are.
What in this case, what does a double-edged sword mean? Usually it means it can cut yourself, it can cut down, it can be bad or negative. In this case, what does it mean?
He doesn't elaborate. You have to look elsewhere for that. And Chassidus talks about it, the two different levels of cutting off the source of the chitzenius. Sometimes it talks about that they get their energy from makif, and the other end they get their energy from very weak, from the tzimtzumim, the concealments. So that's the cutting both off. There's different explanations for the so-called double-edged sword, the pifia. Pifia is also from the word pi, like the two mouths, like the two sides of the sword. So there's different explanations. I would refer you to look it up in the indexes that talk about it. Not really relevant here. That's why it doesn't explain it.
Rabbi, I have a question going back to what is the avoda of the tzaddikim with the nefesh habehemis? What are they doing with that? I mean, if they already have reached a higher level, what are they doing with it?
Who's they?
The tzaddikim. How do they relate to their animal soul? I mean, we have to work on it because we're not tzaddikim, but what's their relationship to the animal soul?
So first of all, we learned this in Ayin Beis. He discussed it, and he said that tzaddikim, as long as we don't have Mashiach, they also are dealing with the darkness of this world, and in some subtle form, it also affects them. Remember, tzaddikim don't live forever; they're affected by the chet etzadas, by the tzimtzum, and in their own way, may not be a full-blown animal soul, but they have to deal with the darkness as well. And he explained it even, if you remember, chet by a tzaddik is not from the word sin, it's from the word lacking something. So they have a lack. Like Moshe Rabbeinu he was able to achieve 49 gates of understanding, but that 50th gate eluded him till the end of his life. So tzaddikim, relative to their level, have work to do as well, to do everything possible, both internally within them subtly, and they also are responsible in a way to help the rest of the world. Like there's the question we discussed, if you may recall, the Arizal, why he said al chet. So the students of the Arizal explained why the Arizal was a tzaddik. Why does he say al chet? All these sins we say in Yom Kippur. It's exactly your question. You could ask, why do they say al chet? So the answer is twofold. Firstly, subtly, every level is also there by a tzaddik. And secondly, because he's the leader of the generation, their sins affect him as well. So he's saying it in a sense because of the effect that they have, and in a way relating to that. So
I understand. So then they are Oh,
So we
sorry.
discussed, and this is, I think, in Ayin Beis, if I recall correctly, I'm trying to remember where, but I think he said it explicitly. He spoke of Chet Meloshel Chassadin, that they have, I think it was maybe the end, close to the end. I have to look it up. I don't remember right now. But he spoke about, tzaddikim. Yeah, that's the general gist of it, anyway.
So then they're also connecting to Tohu then to that level too, on some level, right? Is that fair to say?
Well, to some extent, yes, because whatever darkness they deal with, they have to deal with that, contend with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's, of course, the concept that Mashiach will introduce tshuva to them. And we learned that also earlier, what that means. The tshuva that they will do. What kind of tshuva will they do?
I found an answer to Tzvi's.
So
I'm
if you
sorry,
go
were you
back,
finished?
1 second. So if you go back to the pages I referred about tshuva, he talked about what does it mean that tzaddikim have to do tshuva? And I believe there too, he spoke about what they're lacking and they need to work on. I think I found what I'm referring to, page 1455. I think he talks about tzaddikim, what avoided by them is. No question, we addressed it for sure. I just, it's been a while since we learned it, so I have to look for it again. I think page 1455, if you go on, I think 1457 again, yeah. That's Atzilus Shebabiyah, the Biyah Sheba Atzilus, Avram, Moshe. (1458). Yeah, Shcheirani, even by tzaddikim. That's one place. Another place, if I recall correctly, is a little later. Anyway, we definitely learned about it in the end of Ayin Beis, in the latter pages. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, so I found, and I'm just reading, it's just a lot to read. Maybe you can summarize it, but an answer to Tzvi's question I found by the Rebbe Rashav, he talks about, I don't know if it's Hemshech to find Reish Bet, but I don't think that's Ayin Beis. It's just another mimer. Anyways, I posted in the chat. He says there's two sides of the sword. One, let's see here. He says, I posted it. You can read it yourself in the chat. But he says, to the uniqueness to the nursing of the external, the negative qualities of the neshama or the nefesh. Yecholios al beis ofanim. There's two, I guess, sides or faces of the chitzonim. And it says osher magbihim atzman lekabel b'chinas makif. So either it's there to.
I said that. That's what I said earlier. Makif or through tzimtzumim.
Yeah, is that the second part? Can you explain the tzimtzumim part? What osher?
I'm not going to go into. I especially didn't go there because the Mittler Rebbe didn't go there. Anyone can look it up themselves and learn it. Fine.
All right. Well, Tzvi, I gave you a big head start. It's in the WhatsApp group text.
Thank you, Yitzchak.
Sure.
I specifically didn't want to give one source because it goes back to Teda Eir. There's a few explanations of it. That's one. And there's different places. So I would suggest you can look at this one, but there are other explanations as well. If you look in, again, Sefer Likutim of the Tzemach Tzedek, you can always find all the different explanations on this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it says, Amnam ikar, v'amnam ikar inyan hu b'shtayim lefanah. The primary work of refining, or we'll call softening, preparing, priming the animal soul, is in the shtayim lefanah. That's the expression Chazal, the two blessings that we say after Pesukei de Zimra, before Shema. V'hainu, b'tchila. First one is b'yotzer. So what do we talk about in that blessing? We talk about masha maskir masha malachim emrim be'ema be'yira. We refer to the angels who speak. Again, the praises of God, be'ema be'yira, with awe and reverence. U'makablim aleim el malchus shamayim. And they accept upon themselves the yoke of heaven, the authority of heaven. Ve'emrim kadesh u'baruch. They say kadesh, that is God is removed, is holy, u'baruch is blessed. These are shehena malachim di yitzira u'briya. Now referring to higher level malachim. In Pesukei de Zimra, he said, it was the malachim of El Masiyah. Now we're talking about Yitzira and Bria. Kisrafim de Bria, v'chayis the Yitzira. The Srafim, like the Srafim, are the world of Bria, and Chayis HaKodesh are in the world of Yitzira. And why do we say this? Why are we invoking these prayers, these statements made by these angels? It says, V'kol zeh, ein rak v'shil bira de nefesh habamis. We're saying it only in order to help refine the animal soul, Sheba Adam, in the human, Shesharsha mibchinas pnei sher sheber Merkavah, the Atzilus. Where is the animal soul rooted? So before we learned it was rooted in Toyu. But from Toyu, it's also rooted in the Malachim, or rather, I should say before the Malachim, in the pnei sher Merkavah Datzilus. This is what he said explicitly on the page I referred to earlier in Ayin Beis. Let me go back to that page. 1 second. Page 1444, on top. He almost said, I'm looking if he said exactly these words. Yes, Merkavah the pnei area pnei nesher. So Behema below, though we said it's rooted in the Behema Rabbah in Toyu, but remember, Toyu also has Ishtalshlus. From Toyu, it becomes the Pnei Sher, which is the face of the bull, of the Behema, in the Merkavah of Atzilus. We know the Merkavah has 4 faces. Pnei Sher, Pnei Aryeh, Pnei Nesher, and Pnei Adam. The Pnei Sher is, like he said, is rooted in Chayes Abahim and Pnei Sher, Nefesh Habamis, Shagufim Agrashmi. I'm reading from Ayin Beis, top of page 1444. Essentially the same idea. So that's why we talk about the Malachim from those worlds, because let's continue reading and you'll see how he says it. So he says, because so it's Pnei Sher Merkavah Datzil, Yimshach Kabbalah Shel Malchus Shamayim Ba'av V'yira Gam B'nefesh Habamis. Now, since the Malachim are associated with those faces of the Merkavah, and we discussed that in more at length, if you may recall, in Ayin Beis, he says here these words. Sheish Nefesh Adam is Pnei Adam. Okay. Then he says, but then that's why Shehena, she says, Ulazeh Tam Tzarech HaAdam Lahamshich Al Nafshei Habamis, has to draw down on his animal soul. From where? Mesherish Mokar Chetzbe B'Merkavah Dasiya Pnei Aryeh Pnei Nesher Shein HaMalachim Dasiya Mashpim Ava V'yira. There he talks about Asiya, but it's the same idea that since the animal soul is rooted in the Merkavah, so to weaken the power intensity, remember we spoke before that the animal soul is a very powerful force. The fact that it's rooted in Toyu, or like he says here in the Merkavah, doesn't make it not powerful. On the contrary. So how do you tap into that? So if you reveal to the animal soul its source, it helps you be able to start harnessing that force toward Kedusha. If you leave it alone, So it has that source, and the animal is doing its thing. And it's passionately involved in its own desires. But by invoking Yotzer in Yotzer, the malachim that are the source of this animal soul, the animal soul recognizes, so to speak, like we spoke then, subconsciously, it helps weaken that intensity so you can begin to redirect and harness that power of the animal soul. Like he explains there, because the animal soul on its own impedes the love, the excitement and love for God. That's why you want to invoke or draw down from its source of where it was formed and shaped. I'm reading from Ayin Beis right now. By mentioning, by drawing, invoking the angels, that creates hazaza primis, a shake up, an internal like shock almost, shake up, benefesh habamish, and that allows then you can go into Krishma. So basically, it's almost like, I think I gave the example then. Let's say you're fighting a battle with an enemy. Okay? And enemy is fiercely challenging you. They don't easily give in. But you took hostage one of their leaders, a general. So what do? You show them the general. And they suddenly realize, oh, it'll weaken their resolve because they see their leader is under the control of the enemy, meaning the Kedusha in this case. So by drawing down from the angels, you're essentially showing the animal soul, we know where you come from. We know your source. We know who created you. Because remember, as we spoke about this, Nefesh Habamis was created by God at the end of the day. It's just on its own, without anyone taming it, will be a wild animal and will satisfy its own desires. So by showing the Nefesh Habamis its root in these Pnei Sheir, Shem Merkavah, in the Malachim that he's saying here, that in turn weakens it, allowing it to become, then it begins to listen to you because it realizes that you have so-called its number, if you wish. That's essentially, I'm just putting it in more, more contemporary language, what he's saying here. But I'm citing the Ayin Beis because that helps understand this piece in Mittler Rebbe's Maimer. Now I know he keeps saying first Asiya, then he says Merkavah Vatzilus, now he says Merkavah Yena of Yitzira Kahai Gavna. So this is classic Mittler Rebbe, where the flow, as I said, the free flow of ideas is just flowing. He doesn't really distinguish which Merkavah we talking about, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. So you have to say it's really talking about all of them. Each one, depending what you're addressing here. So you're just bringing them all into the picture. Any questions before I continue? He's going to say some more on this topic, but being that somewhat of a, as I said, we did learn this back on page 1444 in Ayin Beis. So any questions? I see also. Do you have any questions? Ukamoi Shashchina Lamaila, and to explain this a bit, he says, like we see the Shechina Lamaila, the divine presence above, Mislabeshes b'Merkavah Elyena. So we find that the Shechina at times encloses itself in the image of a supernal chariot. Like when Yecheskel, for example, saw the Merkavah, what did he see? It was a vision, an image, a likeness, like a chariot of a king who's riding on the chariot. So this was like what the Merkavah. So he's saying that the Shechina manifests the Merkavah Elyena, shenikra rechav Elikim. which is called Rechev Elokim. Like the Rechev would be like the vehicle of God. This is a pasuk in Tilim, Rechev Elokim. So you see here that the concept of a Merkavah is a manifestation of divine revelation. So when you're invoking the malachim of these higher worlds, you're basically invoking that level of the Merkavah. So this clearly associates the Dalet Chayes Merkavah, meaning the four different images, with malachim. It's not separate. He's referring to them as one level here. The Chein Omar, and so too it says. Let me just see. Adnei bom Sinai b'kedesh. What it sounds like is that God not inferred, drew down within the angels from Sinai b'kedesh. I have to look up what that means exactly. Oh, by the way, where it says Sher Datzilus, in one of the manuscripts, it actually says the Yetzirah. So that would make it a little less confusing. Than one manuscript that actually says Yetzirah, not Atzilus. So Adnei Bom, Tilim, Samachet. Let me look right here. I'm just looking inside of a Tilim. Let's see the exact language, might as well. Samaches Yutches. 68 Samaches Yutches. Let's see what it says.
18.
Yeah, it says on the bottom here, in the footnote.
Yeah, I'm just pasting it to the chat.
Mm-hmm. So Rechev Elokim, which means
I just pasted the translation in the chat.
it's all right. I'm looking at it right now. So he says the chariot of God, that's Rechev Elokim, are twice 10th. Okay, he counts how many. He says clearly, Rechev Elokim Ribeisem Alfei Shinon. That's referring to the angels. This chariot of God are twice 10,000, thousands of angels, and my Lord is in their midst at Sinai in holiness. Okay, clearly. So you see here, the Merkavah is connected with the angels, thousands of angels. Shinon is angels. Adnei Bom Sinai B'Kedesh. The divine is in their midst at Sinai in holiness. In other words, at Sinai, this was all revealed. We know by Mount Sinai, there was a revelation of the Merkavah. So here clearly we see the association of Merkavah with the angels. So when we say in Bichas Yotzer, we talk about the angels who are saying Magdishim, Kodesh, Baruch, Kodesh, 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 and then that the Mamlichim and all the different expressions there. So we're actually invoking this Merkavah level of Merkavah, which is the root of the animal soul. This means, and this is, that through the revelation of the divine presence, be'emre, Malchus, when they say Malchus, Yizbaru v'yisaknu hamalachim v'chinis bitla yesh la'ayin, be'emrim shira v'kodesh v'baruch. So by saying Malchus, what happens is the Malachim are being refined and repaired in a state of bidl of yesh la'ayin, from yesh to ayin, through their song and their praises, Kodesh and Baruch. Let me see this again. Yeah. And again, down below, he refers us to a mimer, another mimer of the Mittler Rebbe, which I'm sure if you look that up, find more information on all of this. Okay. I'll just read till the end of the paragraph. I know it's already. Uvizeu k'moishalamata. The b'chinas ha'chochma dema shebenefesh alikis mevareres the b'chinas ban the nega the nefesh habamis. So this is referring to how things are up in the higher worlds. He's comparing it like lamata when we speak that the chochma of ma of the divine soul refines. Next page 373 ban of nega of the nefesh habamis. So in its root, that's the process of the Merkavah, the revelation of the Merkavah, and the Malachim as they sing praise. Kach, b'chinas ha-malchus shenikra shchina. Because remember, Malchus is what's called the Shechina above. But Mevar b'chinas ban, the behemoth v'chayis, the Merkavah, kepnei er upnei sheir. So Lamata, it's the Nefesh Elikis refining the animal soul. Lamaila, it's Malchus, Shechina. What is it doing? It's being mavarer the Merkavah of the ban of the behemoth achayis of the chariot, the face of the lion, the face of the bull. So when we now say in Birchas Yotzer we speak about the angels, what we're doing is drawing that bitter lamaila in order to give us power to create the refinement down below into the animal soul. Okay, and here we'll stop. This is coming to explain what this part of the prayer is doing in the process of refining and transforming the animal soul into a divine force. So we'll stop here at the end of the paragraph on top of page 373. Are there any questions?
I had a question on the issue of this. I think it said the source of the Nefesh Habamis is in the Merkavah. I thought we said it was in Tohu. I mean, maybe it could be both.
So I just explained that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't following you. I'll listen to it again on my own.
I basically said that there's a ishtalshlus. It starts from Tohu, and then it manifests in lower levels from Tohu into the Pnei Sheir of the Merkavah, and then from that into Nefesh Habamis. Just like it is, you say things are, say, rooted in Atzilus, then it goes through Bria, Yotzer, Asiya.
Yeah, okay.
So same thing, Tohu also goes through these levels. And one of the levels is the Merkavah, yeah.
And is the Merkavah?
In Tohu, there's no behemoth. In Tohu is just pure divine energy.
Chaos, yeah.
And not so much the chaos part, intensity of energy. But then where it manifests into beginning the shape of what we would call an animal would be in the face of the bull, the sheir, the behemoth in the Merkavah.
Is this in Bia or is this still on?
So I also explained, in every world there's a Merkavah. There's Merkavah in Atzilus, there's Merkavah in Bria, there's Merkavah Yotzer, and Merkavah in Asiya.
Sorry, I was switching between all these mimer, and I guess I wasn't focusing on what you were saying.
That's fine. I'm just repeating.
Why would there be an non-kosher animal, an REA in the Merkavah?
So I'll refer you to the Maamorei AdHamtz that asked that question and answer it. It's discussed. I just can't explain all the Chassidus in one place, so that's why we have to look at other places. You want me to show you where it is, or you want the shortcut for me to explain it to you?
Shortcut.
I thought so. Well, you won't understand it unless you really look it up. Because basically the things that are higher come down, the higher it's sourced, the more lower it comes down. That's the short answer.
Before you turn off the recording, can I just read about the fundraising campaign?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so Tzvi, did you get your question answered? Did you have any follow-up?
No, I think I'm okay.
I have a question. I had one more. I had one question.
Sure.
Can I ask that before you say about the fundraising?
Yeah, please.
So, where it says "V'hu mashayadei gilut shchina ba'ema malchus yisparu v'taknu malachim b'bechinas bittul hayesh la'ayin." So the malachim are being mavarer to their yeshus of the malachim are being transformed to ayin, because I always thought that malachim are tachlis of bittul. anyways. I mean, their whole creation talk is a bittul. So why is it information to a
There's some
bittul?
background noise. Is there some background noise by somebody? I can't hear clearly. Okay, go ahead. Say again.
No,
Oh, okay. I understand your
question.
question. I got your question. The answer is this. Why do malachim have to say praise if they're bottle? Because the malachim are not bittul mitzias like an atzilus. The malachim are entities, and they are constantly aware of the divine, and that's why they say praise, because they are filling themselves up and renewing, recharging their batteries, if you wish. That's why malachim say Kaddish, 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 and all the different things. So relative to them, they're going from a state of yesh to ayin. It's far more subtle than it is in the animal soul, obviously, but it is a process of every morning they say Shira, Baran Yachav Keichvei Boker. Same reason why the sun and the moon and the stars all go from east to west. This is all a form of prostrating themselves and bowing and demonstrating a bittul telekus. The reason for that is they serve as a role model, an example for us. So relatively speaking, they are renewing that bittul on an ongoing basis. So when we talk about the malachim, we're drawing from that to help us also deal with the nefesh habam. It's obviously in a far more coarse and crass manifestation.
Oh, great answer. I understand that. It's so fascinating that even the tachlis of bittul of malachim need to constantly recharge themselves and reinforce their bittul.
That's why you see tzaddikim gemurim also daven say Shema every day. Why? Because besides the renewing, there's also the constant. They want that connection. They want to be aware. It's like even if you love your spouse, you still say "I love you" every day.
There's another student in the class, Mr. Howard Rosenberger, who's asking. He wanted an expansion or clarification of when you spoke earlier about Pesukei Zimra. He's saying that the root of the word Zimra can also be wedding, as in first you have to weed out the weeds to make room for the good plants to grow. He's wondering if there's something there, if that resonates with you.
I'm the one that said that. I brought that out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I spoke about the weeding. I mean, I'm not sure. Is there a question?
I guess he just wants to explain it more. I
did explain that it's about the animal soul is like wild on its own, and you want to weed it. You want to cut down, like you said, like a sword. You want to cut off its supply from its selfish roots. You want to so-called tame it. So that's the comparison to weeding.
Oh, what I wanted to ask was what is the like in Pesukei Zimra? Zimra means like music and song, but how is that related to the word?
So I said there's another meaning in the word Zimra from the word lezamer aritzim, to weed. Okay. In Hebrew, the word Zimra also means to weed.
Got it. Okay. And the reason I asked it is because when you said it earlier, I was in my car and there was a lot of noise. I didn't hear it perfectly. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. Yitzchak, take it away.
Okay. So as those of you on the WhatsApp group hopefully read, Rabbi Jacobson's organization, Meaningful Life Center, is seeking donations to fund the special edition printing of his book, world famous book, Toward Meaningful Life, Wisdom of the Rebbe. There's printing special editions of Rabbi Jacobson's book to gift to the idea of combat soldiers. As many of you know, the past couple of years, Rabbi Jacobson has had a major annual fundraising campaign for his own organization, but where we've raised over $1 million each year, I think. But this year, MLC is sacrificing its own fundraising for its own resources to support our brave soldiers through this new fundraising effort. As you all have heard, there's already been an initial printing and distribution of the books to combat soldiers in Gaza. And the goal right now is to print and gift at least another 50,000 or more copies. The publication cost of these books will be at least $300,000 to $400,000. Of course, the more they give, the more it costs. we already have a reliable printer and distribution network is in place. So as soon as we can buy the books, they get sent to the soldiers. Very, very limited lag time. So your donation will go immediately to print and gift these books, which will give our Chayalim chizuk and courage, inspiration for the war effort, but also when they return home safely, Be'ez Hashem, they will serve as a permanent source of inspiration and meaning for the soldiers and their families and many others in their ambit. So please assist in this important effort by donating whatever you can on Rabbi Jacobson's website. It's his website, meaningfullife.com/Operation Spiritual Sword. And this is in the chat, WhatsApp chat thread. But if you don't have that, meaningfullife.com/Operation Spiritual Sword, just like you hear it. Anyone who donates $100 or more will receive a free copy of this special edition book, which you can't get anywhere else. And anyone donating $180 or more will receive a hand-signed copy from Rabbi Jacobson with a personal inscription. People giving more than this can get additional copies if they desire, within reason. This is a special edition and includes extra portions, items that are not in the regular book, chapter on Eretz Yisrael, special cover note regarding the dedication of Tzahal, a special opening page with a more detailed dedication, and an excerpt from the book regarding the Rebbe's inspiring words about the IDF. This is a special collector's edition, so it's really, besides being a wonderful tzedakah and promoting the spreading of Torah and Chassidus in the world, especially in the dark place of Gaza, this is a special thing to have in your library because it's one of a kind, and very few people in the world will have this. So please join us. I've donated. I know maybe a few others in the class have. I'll be calling people, so get ready for my call. And please give whatever you can, however small. It doesn't have to be big numbers. We're shooting for 100% participation. So thank you all very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to private message me.
Thank you so much, Yitzchak. Well said. And I second it, of course, and support it. And yeah, it's exciting. Just got a report that the books are already being delivered as we speak. 8,000 are going to Beersheba. That's going to Gaza. Another 20,000 are going all over the rest of Israel, north, and so on. Another 21,000 are going to Jerusalem. So it's happening. It's a whole distribution process. Very excited. I'm starting to get pictures and videos are going to come in. And I hear from a few people that I've personally heard from people in the front lines that it's really, they feel strengthened with it. You know, it's empowering. It's message, it's imagery. And there's a picture of the Rebbe on the cover. I'll post the new cover, which I have already. I don't think that I post that, Yitzchak. I don't know if I posted the new cover.
I did last night. I think. I mean, I posted
the new one
image.
with the special edition one.
Yeah, Rashi sent it to me last night. It says empower.
Oh, okay, great. So you did, excellent.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Great.
Can you post the pictures of the soldiers sending the pictures to you?
Yeah, we have a whole gallery online, which we'll post a link to the gallery. You'll see on the page, we have a whole gallery of pictures, which we're constantly adding to.
So go to meaningfullife.com.
Go to meaningfullife.com, Operation Spiritual Sword. That's definitely the donation page, but I think I'll put another link up for the photos if I can find it.
Okay. That's great.
Okay, great. What was I looking at? Here. Oh, a lot of things to look at here. Okay. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's the picture, right? That's good. Yeah. Okay, let me end the recording. So we're stopping here, Naim Bay's top of page 373.